Hello ladies. I'm not sure who all is going to be on, but I hope some of you will join me tonight because I have had a few messages from a few ladies who are just like, help, I have my stuff and I haven't even tried it on yet. I don't know what to do. I've forgotten everything. So I thought, well, I often will offer to do like a virtual one-on-one call with ladies that are nervous to try it out or aren't sure what they're doing, or maybe they've tried it once and it didn't go as planned or whatever the case may be. And so I thought, well, since I have a few from last month that took the plunge during the promo and so on, and I have limited time to try to spread it out, especially with such a big family, I thought, well, why don't I have one big group call, and hopefully anyone that wants to join can join. And if not, it's here as a replay, so no worries if not. But you can follow along with me. You could be doing your makeup right now with me if you want to, or you can just save this video and replay it later. There's a couple ladies watching. Hey Stacy, hey Susan, and hopefully more will join us. So I will get started. I know Stacy's already a veteran. She's really good at this. I don't know why you're here, Stacy, but I'm still glad to see you. And Susan, I haven't heard much from you, so I'm hoping that this will be helpful for you too. Anyway, so when I did your color match, I had probably given you something like this that would tell you, along with your color match suggestions, there would have been a little picture on the side that would have kind of shown you this picture, right? And this is helpful to a degree. However, nobody's face is exactly like this. In fact, this is a cartoon, so I would dare say that nobody's face is that way. So it can be a little obviously different on your own face. You're gonna wanna play with it a few times and get the hang of where you wanna place everything on your own face, because everybody's face is different. Things that you wanna bring out and flatter on your own face might be different from someone else's too. And so it might look slightly different, but this is like the basic placement guide, okay? And I'm gonna go through that with you. So taking it back right to the very beginning for anybody watching who hasn't even taken their stuff out of the tins yet, you are going to receive everything in these adorable little tins, and then they're going to pop out. So some people struggle even with that, like I had one lady recently, she was like, how come when I put these in, like they don't fit in here and then it doesn't close all the way? And I had to say, you have to take it out of the tin. So no shame if that's you, you have to take it out of the tin first. And sometimes they can be a little sticky, so you just kind of press down and slide it out. It should be fairly easy to take out. And then you get to put it in your palette of choice. If you took my advice, I probably would have recommended that you get a palette a little bit bigger rather than just getting a tiny one like this. This is a great one if you just wanted like the summer glow kit to stick in your purse and you didn't want anything else, you didn't want to add anything on or anything like that. This is a great purse size palette. However, for those of you who become addicts very quickly, you're gonna wish that you had sized up, because then you have to buy a second palette and then you need two palettes, or you don't know what to do with the first palette. So it's kind of nice to have one like this one. This is my favorite one to recommend because it's got plenty of room to grow if you're just getting the basics, but it'll be a while probably before you outgrow it. So it's nice, it's a good size, this one, and it's still purse size. This is the one that fits 12 large tins, and then the eyeshadow tins are half the size of one, so 2 fit in one of those spaces, okay? Anyways, so if you did get the basics though, you would have gotten 2 highlights, 1 contour, and 1 lip and cheek. So let me show you as if you got it in there instead. I've got my 2 highlights, my contour, 2 lip and cheeks that I've been loving to blend together. I've got my bronzer, and then in the bottom palette I have my brush cleaning tile, which is great for cleaning off my eyeshadows. And then I've got my powder illuminator glazing, and then I have 2 choices for cream illuminators. One of them is my perfume that I love the smell of, so I just like slather that everywhere. And then I've got glow illuminator that I like to mix with my Bella. Anyways, that's what my palette looks like right now, and you guys have seen my palette change so much. Like I have all of the things, and so I switch mine out all the time and change it up. But that's a good example of what you might want in your palette, okay? But anyways, let's bring it back to the very basics, because if you're new, you probably just started with a couple of things, right? You probably don't have all of the bells and whistles right now. So if you just started, you may have gotten something that looks like this. So 2 highlights, 1 lighter, 1 darker, a contour, and a lip and cheek. Okay, that's just like the very basics. And then you probably got 1 brush. So you probably got this brush, the 3D brush, okay? And so let's just go through that with only 1 brush, because lately I've been using lots of different brushes, I think even in my demos, and I do love all of the brushes. I have the entire collection. I'll show you what they all look like. And if you have any questions about specific brushes, if you got different brushes and you want to know more about how to use yours or what the functions are, let me know, because they're all gorgeous, they're all amazing, they all are great for different things, and most of them can be used for your whole face too. However, this is usually the one I would recommend for just getting started if you just want 1 brush to do your whole face, okay? And that's called the 3D brush. It looks like triple ID. Okay, now you can use your fingers to apply this. Lately, I've been having some hormonal breakouts because my baby's weaning and I'm getting my cycle back and all that stuff. And so whenever that happens, I do have some skin issues while my skin's adjusting and all that. And because I'm acne prone, I like to avoid touching my face. So if you want to avoid touching your face and you don't have this little brush, this is the Multitasker Brush, which I've been really loving using instead of my fingers. If touching your creams with your fingers really turns you off, which a lot of people are that way, then you can use a little makeup brush if you already have one at home. A dense one is good. I like this one because it's flat and it's made for creams. This is called the Multitasker and it does all kinds of things. You can totally use your finger, and if you use your finger, what I just do is wash my hands first, and I use hand sanitizer, and then I will use it. So I just like to be extra careful. I never want to get bacteria in the cream by sticking my fingers in there, and so you just want to make sure you have clean fingers if you're going to use your fingers, and you totally can. It's like finger painting approved, okay? Or you can use a little brush, or you can apply directly with your brush. The only thing about doing that is that you can accidentally use too much product sometimes. If you apply directly with your brush, you're more likely to use more product than you need, and a couple things will happen if that's the case. You will go through your makeup way faster than you want to, and so it won't be as economical for you because you'll have to replace it faster, which nobody wants to have to do. Secondly, you probably won't like the look as much because this is makeup that's meant to be worn all in one layer to avoid caking makeup on, and it's very concentrated and very pigmented cream. So it's so different from liquids, right? That you're used to just like slathering all over your face. I'm amazed. I actually put on my old liquid foundation the other day just to do a comparison video. And I was like, oh my goodness, like you use so much of this. I forgot because I've been doing this now for almost a year, only using creams. And it did not look good either. I was just like, wow, I'm so glad. I'm never going back to that. But you have to use way more. So with this, you use such a little amount, okay? And it takes a while to kind of figure out how little you really do need. So that's why I kind of like using my fingers or a small brush, at least when I'm just teaching people to get started, because you're less likely to use too much if that's the case. Okay. So you may have also, I forgot to mention this, but you may have also been concerned about color correcting. If you have very dark eye circles, under eye circles, or you have rosacea, or you have melasma, or something that you mentioned to me was an issue of concern, and if I recommended to you an extra color, it probably would have been mango or Frenchie. And those are the two that are often recommended, especially for under eye coverage. So if you're wondering what to do with that, that is something that you would put on the darker parts of your face before you do your main highlight and contour. Okay, so if you were going to skip that, I'm going to actually just show you on this eye first. So if you were going to skip color correcting and you just got these 4 things, you would use the darker of your 2 highlights to put over anything that needed extra coverage. So I'm going to use that on this side. So see how I've got like this dark under eye circle here? The reason I use a darker color to correct that is because dark is going to match the dark. So we don't want to just tint it lighter and then have to use way more product on that area. And even though I do teach you to put brightener around your eyes, this can confuse people sometimes. If you only use brightener here, you're gonna find that that's gonna show through, and you're probably gonna want to put extra on there. And this under eye area, it moves so much. It moves way more than any part of your face, because it's constantly, you're smiling, you're blinking, you're moving around, and it's going to kind of ripple that up and create texture under the eye where you don't want it. So you want minimal coverage, and so the best way to do that is to put a small amount of a darker shade under there first, and see how that, it does a pretty good job, even just with this highlight color. This is Candlelit that I'm using, of minimizing that, okay, compared to the other side. However, if you wanted to pull like double duty and you wanted a different color under here, then you may have gotten Mango or Frenchie. Where is that? I've got, so for me, I have blue purple under my eyes. So Frenchie, I prefer for somebody that has kind of greenish color under your eyes. If they look kind of brown under your eyes, if you have warm, like yellow-based skin, and you find that this area under your eyes looks kind of like greenish brown in color, then Frenchie is usually gonna be best for that. For me, I find Mango, or because I'm so fair, the color Sunlit can be better for me under my eyes. Okay, so Sunlit is here, Mango is here. Yep, here's Mango. So Sunlit looks pretty yellow. I've used that in a lot of my videos. And I actually really like Sunlit under my eyes because it works as both a brightener and a color corrector, because it's yellow, so it's kind of vibrant, but it also corrects under the eyes. But anyways, I'm gonna show you Mango here. Oh, why did that just go dark? That's weird. My screen just went very dark. I can't really see myself now. Did it go dark for you guys or just me? Hopefully just me. Okay, so I'm just gonna pat that Mango under there. And I hope that you can see how that will work, even though things just got dimmer for some reason. Did my screen go dark for you too, or is it just me? So there's Mango under the eyes. So similar idea. You can see, okay, great. And then I am gonna add some brightener on top. So if you have other areas of concern, you can add that darker, either the color correcting shade I gave you or just your darker highlight. So like sometimes we have broken capillaries around the nose. My babies. I'm down in the basement and you can hear everything from down here, and my baby is directly above me. She's supposed to be sleeping and she's going, Mama. Very sad, but she's supposed to be asleep right now. Okay, so if you have areas like that, just dot it on there, okay? You don't want a lot, just a little. Now, I'm gonna go ahead now and contour. So contour is one of those things that really freaks a lot of people out, okay? And I know why. Usually people are really scared of the color, okay? Because it's dark, and we're used to liquids, and we're usually used to powder contours if we're gonna contour it at all. And putting a powder on top of a liquid means it's like glue. It just sticks to it, it's patchy, and it looks kind of dirty, and it doesn't blend well, so it's not easy to work with for a newbie at all. So I get why a lot of people are afraid of it. I promise you, you do not have to be afraid of this. So one of the things that I see a lot of times with ladies who are just starting out is they put way too little contour on. So, and I'll show you on this side. A lot of times they are so afraid of it and they want to do like this teeny tiny little line, and they usually put it way down here a lot of times. Maybe because of this little picture, because in the picture her contour seems really low, and that's not actually accurate. You don't want to do this, okay? Because anything above the shadow becomes prominent, because that's the part that's in light. So see how if I cut this part of my face here, then all this becomes light. A lot of people love to use contour to slim the face, okay? And if you bring it up nice and high up here, that's gonna really sculpt and define the face and kind of chisel it. If you bring it down here, it's actually gonna do the opposite. It's gonna make it seem like your cheeks are really full because all this is now cheek. See the difference that makes? So if you put it down really low, you're probably not gonna find it as much of a flattering effect. Same goes for the nose. If you kind of find out where your nose ends on your face, so there's this slope here, and if it's coming down here and that's where you put your contour line, then guess what? Your nose is going to appear really wide because everything in between those two lines now is what's going to be light and what's going to come forward. So I don't know if I need to really illustrate further. Like if all this area in between there is light and bright, then that becomes the flat part of the nose and it looks very wide, right? So we don't want that. That's usually not what people want to do either. So just keep in mind, anywhere you place shadow, that means that everything in between it or above it or wherever you place it is going to become the prominent thing, okay? So it's not so much just about contouring, it's also about highlighting. It makes a very big difference where you place things. So I don't want to freak anyone out and make you like worried now, but I think it's a good visual to keep in mind. Okay, anything bright and light comes forward, becomes prominent, and anything dark recedes and goes back. Now, because this is cream, it's really easy to work with. Like you just wipe it off and try again. So if you put that on and you feel like, here, I'll put my contour on my nose here. If I look at that and I think, oh, that's still too wide, I can literally just push it up because it's cream. And so it's very forgiving and it moves with my face. It's gonna blend really easily and it's very easy to fix. Okay, so you never really have to worry about having like placing it wrong like you would with powder and just being stuck with it, and then you have to scrub your face and it's really such a pain. This is like no-brainer makeup that's very easy to smudge around and move around, okay? And that's also one of the reasons why this makeup is fantastic for anybody that has mature skin. So if you are over 35, like me, you're considered mature. Congratulations. So the majority of women, therefore, have mature skin. And so really it just means you're not 20 anymore, right? Like that's basically what they're telling us. And the reason we don't like traditional makeup is because it's not great for real skin that's not taut and smooth as a baby's bum anymore, because it doesn't regenerate as quickly. And so we have issues with texture a lot more often than somebody that's younger will. And so, you know, when you're younger, it doesn't really matter what you're putting on your face because there's nothing to really show as far as texture, unless you have acne, which I did deal with. So it was like I went right from having chronic acne from the time I was 12 to all of a sudden having mature skin and getting to deal with both. So that's nice. But anyways, if you were blessed with very beautiful, luminous, taut skin with no real issues through your 20s, and now you find yourself in your mid-30s and things are changing, welcome to the club. That is considered mature skin, and that's why a lot of the traditional makeup that sets on your face, like liquids and powders, if you're just joining me, this is the what not to do side, in case you're wondering why I'm so lopsided. Those kind of makeup products, they set as soon as they get on the face, and so they're going to crack. They're going to look chalky a lot of times and cakey. You're putting it on because you have issues on your skin that you want to minimize or cover, and then you're creating new issues a lot of the time with this makeup. And so a lot of people just give up foundation altogether and go for like tinted moisturizer or something like that because it looks better generally. However, it's not going to give you the coverage that you want. So it's this makeup here is like the best foundation I've ever found that works well if you want coverage and you want that beautiful dynamic look to your skin and that beautiful glow without the cakiness and the crepiness and the powdery texture. And one of the other reasons why other than just the texture of the cream, is also the fact that we're using two foundation colors, sorry. So we are contouring, and I'm just placing that around the face. I'm doing a really sloppy job on purpose, just to show you. You do not have to be super precise. It's okay, because we're gonna blend it all together anyway. I'm so sorry if you can hear my baby, and if it's breaking your heart, it is me. I'm just gonna keep on going because she is really overtired and needing to sleep, but I'm very sad that she's crying. She's 18 months now, so she's not so much of a baby, but still. Okay. The other thing about it is the fact that we're using two foundation highlights rather than one, okay? And so the benefit to that is, obviously, when you're looking at my face, you can tell like I'm fairly pale, even though it's summertime. I'm fairly pale, right? But even though I have not a lot of pigment or melanin in my skin compared to a lot of women, I still have more than one color in my skin. I'm not just one flat shade, right? And so what happens when you put one shade of foundation all over a person's face, especially if you're really fair like me, but actually it doesn't really matter what skin tone you are. What happens is you're gonna have to pick one of two colors, either one that matches the lightest tones in your face the best, or one that matches the darkest tones in your face the best. And so you're gonna try to find one in the middle that's gonna work the best for you, but especially as seasons change, you're going to probably be a little lighter or a little darker than your natural skin tone. If you go with something a little lighter, what happens is what I was talking about before with the under eyes. You go lighter, but then any areas that need coverage show through unless you really cake it on, and cakey product looks bad, right? Nobody wants that. It also flattens out the face, and anything light and bright, like I showed you with my nose earlier, becomes wider looking and prominent. And so you kind of give yourself like this flat moon face when you go lighter. If you go darker, then it's going to look still very flat and one-dimensional because we're not just one color, but you also run the risk of looking like you have this bobblehead where there's a line from your neck to your face where your neck's a little lighter and your face is darker and it looks like you kind of are wearing a mask. Okay, so either way, not great. So it's wonderful that with this, we're using two different colors. We're using one that's gonna brighten and give some dimension to the face. And it's also nice because you can mix it in areas like maybe the jawline that are a little bit too, a little bit too light, and you wanna blend it together. And then there's this darker one that's gonna give more coverage. So the darker color here, this medium or mid-tone shade, I like to call it, is the one that really blends the best into my skin. It's the darker of the two, it's called Candlelit. But you see, like, you can see it on my face, but it's a good match for the most part. However, if I did just use Candlelit all over, it would be a little dark overall. Like, you would probably notice that my face is a different color than my neck. Okay, so it's that good mid-tone highlight that it just, when you know you get the right color, you know, because it just kind of blends right into your skin. As soon as you put it in, it just kind of melts in. It doesn't show up. It doesn't look like it's sitting on your face at all. And that makes it really great for coverage. If you have areas of redness or anything like that that you need covered. Okay, then you've got your brightener. I've got a little redness here. So see, I'm just kind of slapping it on. I'm dotting it around. That's going to be your main shade. So it's going to be pretty much all in the perimeter of your face. The exception would be if you have dark under eye circles and you don't have a color corrector, then you would put that under your eyes as well. Okay, just only a little bit on the darkest part. Got a little something in my eye, speaking of eyes. Okay. Now, your brightening shade, for me, this one is Moonlit. I go back and forth between Moonlit and Linen. They're both great. I put this basically just right down the center of my face. And I'm going to even put it down in the center of my nose here because that's the prominent part of my nose that I want to show. just kind of dot it on there. Now, you don't actually have to contour your nose at all. If that scares you, just start with your cheekbones. Maybe if you want to go around your forehead or your jawline, go ahead. But really your cheekbones are the most important part that's going to make the most difference on your face. If you do want to contour your nose, again, you just want to keep those lines closer together rather than farther apart. Honey, will you please go tell Daddy that Scarlett's crying? I don't know if he can hear her. Yeah. Yeah, but go tell Daddy first, okay? I can hear her crying. Okay, so I'm also going to put brightener on these sides too. And that's, oh yeah, and then the under eyes. So under the eyes, we get pretty dark around here. So I'm going to put a couple dots here. And then we're basically just dotting in like a triangular shape under the eyes. So the reason I don't go under the eyes with semicircle highlights is because that then, like we were talking about before with the nose, how anything that you highlight and brighten becomes really prominent. If I go under the eyes right here with a really bright highlight, that means that that under eye bag is going to appear to pop forward. And all of a sudden I'm going to give myself bags that are like inflated under my eyes. And you don't want that. You don't want to emphasize this area the most. You really just kind of want to minimize this area while still brightening around your eyes to give attention to your eyes, because most women love their eyes. If I'm going to ask them what's one feature on your face you really like, usually it's going to be their eyes, and for good reason. That's the most beautiful part of the face in my opinion. So you do want to give attention to the eyes, not necessarily attention to the skin under the eyes, right? So you want to brighten under the eyes, but you don't want tons of product. So just dot it a little bit under there, kind of in like triangular shapes. And then I do go down this bag line on top of that other color to brighten under here a little bit. Okay, that's it. That's it for the 3D foundation. If I'm not chatting and blabbing, and you've probably seen me do this, I get this part done in like a minute or two. It doesn't take very much time at all. Now, I would go and blend. These are awesome brushes because it's basically two brushes in one. I purposely left this down here to show you the difference. So you can start with one side. Be very careful around your eye area because you don't want to pull, and you always want to kind of be working upward around the eyes. So I like to use this pointed end. You can use either end, but I like to use the pointed end, especially around the eyes in those little nooks and crannies, to kind of get up there where I want to. And it's nice for, like, you know, around the nose and so on too. And I like to kind of stipple it in rather than just smudging everywhere, because I want things to stay relatively where I put them. I do want it all to blend beautifully together, and it will because of the texture. But I do still want to be able to see, you know, where those shadows are and so on. I don't want to just kind of blend it all together, otherwise there's no point in putting it where I put it in the first place. So I go around, I'll do usually the highlights first, but you can do it either way you want. You can do your contours first if you want to. Actually, a lot of women like to do it that way, so it doesn't really matter. Okay. Oh, poor baby. I wonder if my husband's gonna come get her. Can you hear her? That's all I can think about right now. Okay. So see how that blends just really, really nicely together. And actually the fact that it sat on my skin for a little longer really ends up helping, because it warms up on your face and starts to just kind of melt. It's really, really fabulous warm. Okay, I'm gonna do my nose probably last. All right, so then I'm gonna flip it over. I'm not quite done all the highlights, but that's okay. I'm gonna switch over. I'm gonna do my contour. So this one, I'm gonna go up where I like to show it. Nice and high, which kind of just picks up the face, gives that shadow and that dimension. And see, I used quite a bit there, which might seem really scary, but once you blend it all together, it shouldn't be scary anymore. And remember, we don't even have blush on or anything like that yet. Excuse me. Okay, so that's that side. Okay. Now let's see if we can see a difference between the other side, which is what I find most women when they're first starting out, if they don't love the makeup or they don't find enough of a difference with their contour, it's usually because this is how they've done it, okay? So. Let's see how this one looks. Are we seeing a difference? See a difference there? Now I haven't finished this part here yet, but do you see a difference in the two cheeks? That one versus that one. This side really doesn't do much for me, does it? So, and this is often the problem, which is why a lot of times if somebody tells me that they don't love the contour or they don't really notice a big difference or something like that, I'll usually say, will you send me a picture of your placement, like dot it all on the way that you normally would, and take me a picture before you blend it. And usually I'll notice that this is the way that they've contoured. So try higher up if that has been an issue for you, and I think you'll notice a really big difference. I'll show you when I just apply with my brush. You can totally do that. I just kind of dab it in and then put it up here. And you'll usually notice a much bigger difference in a good way when you place it up higher. Okay, so now we'll finish the nose, and I can't, because my screen has gotten so dim for some reason. I don't know if my phone's in power saving mode or what, but I don't want to take the time to try to troubleshoot that and make you wait. So I'll just use my mirror. So when I'm doing my nose, I really like to use a small brush like my eyeshadow brush or my detail brush, which is made specifically for contouring. So if you wanted to dive into more detail work as far as that goes, if you'd like a more precise brush for contour, let me know and I can teach you more about that. But this is just the basics. So I'm just gonna assume that most people watching this only have this one brush. So if that's the case, you just wanna move upward on your nose because you don't wanna drag the shadow way down. So move upward against that shadow a little bit more. And you can even just like, you know, pat that in with your finger too if you want to. Somebody's coming down. And just kind of up and down until you feel it's well blended. So you never want to have obviously like lines down your nose that are obvious. You just want it to be a nice shadow. So just keep blending till you get it the way that you like it. And you might find that when you do that, especially with a bigger brush, you might wipe away a little bit more of that highlight and you might find that it gets a little muddy. If that's the case, then just use your highlight on your finger or one of those little brushes like I was showing you, like an eyeshadow brush. And you can just highlight the tip of your nose like that. Okay? Now, same thing, if you find that this area under your cheekbones have gotten muddy, say you put your contour on and it's a little too low and then you wanted to move it up and then you feel like there's just lots of contour going on, you might notice a really great difference if you take your highlight after the fact and go in and just kind of create like a little Nike swoosh right here. Because like I said before, it's not just about the contour, it's also about the highlight, because that's the area that then becomes nice and prominent. So that highlight will also just emphasize that contour. They just work very well hand in hand. So if you kind of go where your smile line is, basically here, with a little bit of that highlight, and then up give a little check mark kind of thing, a Nike swoosh, you'll notice that's very emphasized then. And it's just less muddy overall and will give you a really beautiful defined contour. Okay? Now, there's no rules to any of this, so you'll watch me and you'll decide if you like that or don't like that. Give it a try, and you're gonna, like I said at the beginning, you have your own unique face, you have your own taste in how you like your makeup to look. So, you know, you don't do anything that you don't like the look of, but play around with it, because just basically keep in mind anything that I put in shadow, anything I contour is going to chisel that out, and it's going to make the lighter areas the most prominent. And anything I really want to brighten and come forward more, I want to put a little more highlight on, okay? But always less is more, so just always work up to it, because you can always add more, but you don't want to start with too much and not really know what you're doing, and then it just pools funny and it's waxy looking if you put way too much on, and it wastes your product, so nobody wants that. You can also use your same contour that you use to chisel your face in your brows. So you may or may not have gotten this brush. This is called the line brush. If you didn't, you can just smudge a little bit in your eyebrows, or maybe you have a brush kind of like that already. This is a really great brush because it's got a nice stiff angled end on one side, which really is just a great size for mimicking brow hairs. And kind of draw those in, and then it has this spoolie on the other side, so you can just comb it through and fluff it up. And so if you want to kind of jump on board the more voluminous brow trend, you can always really emphasize those brows and draw them in a little bit larger. If you don't want to, then just comb them straight across and it'll just groom them nicely. But either way, a well-defined brow really does make a big difference in the overall look of your makeup, I think. It's a great way to just kind of polish things off, frame the eyes, and really just kind of frame the face overall, I think. And again, contour is pretty easy to work with, so if you don't love it, it's usually pretty easy to change if you don't like the way that it looks. Okay. And remember that your brows don't have to be perfectly matching either. They can be fraternal twins rather than identical twins. No problem, Susan. I hope this is helpful for you. Okay, another area that you can contour if you want to is your lips. I think I kind of did that already, but if you want to emphasize your lips, something that happens as we mature, as I mentioned earlier, our noses keep growing and our lips shrink. And so this can be kind of sad, because the areas of your face that you usually want to emphasize the most or draw attention to, such as your eyes and your lips, kind of lose the focus a lot of times as the nose grows. So that's one thing that I really like about nose contouring, is it just kind of slims things and puts things back into perspective so that the eyes can still be the emphasis. And if you've lost some volume where you're in your lips, then contour can really be a great tool for drawing them back out again, just by creating some shadow underneath them, even above them. In this little Cupid's bow area, you can kind of define the shadow that's already there, right here, with that contour, and just make sure you blend it, obviously. But see how easy, it just really disappears quickly, so it's not scary like you're gonna have this really dark brown spot there. Again, you don't have to do this, it's just a little tip if you want to. I personally really like defining my lips with contour more so than a lip liner, because lip liners usually leave a ring of color around the lips that doesn't look very natural, whereas a contour just looks like shadow. So I prefer that personally. Okay, now moving into lips, you probably got started with just one lip color. So if that's you, try that on, and there could be one of two things happen. Either you love it, or you think it's not enough. Either you might want to change it, because lip colors are very personal. So I'm going to recommend to you a bunch of colors that I think will look beautiful with your skin coloring, but it might still just not be your preference. Even if I think it looks great on you, it might not be your favorite. You might be used to wearing a certain color of lipstick and it's just not the same or what you're used to. And so you shouldn't settle. If it's a color that you just don't like and you don't think you're wearing it enough, send it back, because we do have a 60-day shade swap policy. So if you're new to Saint and you are still within that 60-day window, send it back, swap it for another color that you really like. If you are beyond the 60-day shade swap time period, however, and you don't love the color of your lipstick or lip color, you can also mix it with your contour. So this color is Desert Sunset, and I really love this color. Now I think I might have had a little bit of highlight on my brush still that I didn't wipe off. I should have used my brush cleaning tile. But still, it's just such a beautiful color. You can mix it with your highlight too and make it a little lighter. If your color is too light for you and you think you'd like a little bit of a darker color, mix it in with your contour, because your contour, you'll notice, does not have a taste or a smell, and it's the same consistency as your lip colors. Well, as your satin lip colors anyways. We have satin colors and glosses. So Desert Sunset is a gloss. But anyways, they're all meant to be worn everywhere. They're multitasking products, so you can definitely wear your contour on your lips. And a lot of people like to do that if you have a color that's maybe pretty bright. You really love it on your cheeks, but you feel like it's too bright on your lips. Or whatever, it's a little too light and you want to darken it. Try mixing it with your contour and see what you think about that. I will show you another example here if I can find all my lip and cheek colors. So what's another example? Dahlia is one that a lot of people really love on the cheeks, but they might find it intimidating on the lips. It's a nice bright color that can scare people. Okay, but if you mix that in with your contour, then it's going to create a new shade that's more like a nude pink, which a lot of women are going to find safer. And even if you love a bright lip, it's still fun to change it up sometimes and have other options. So just keep in mind that you can mix it with your highlight or your contour for a different look if you want to. Okay. Keep in mind as well that with your lip colors, just like everything else, a little can go a long way. So if you put it on and it's really concentrated and you just like pat it in and the color is really dark, like for example, if I recommended Black Cherry to you, that's one of my favorite colors because it's very versatile and it's a gloss, but it looks really scary, right? It's like a dark color. It looks purpley black. So if you try that one and you put a lot on, you might find it too dark. So just try only patting a tiny bit on if that's the case and mushing your lips together, and you might find you really like the color that it gives, just a little like a berry stain or a flush instead. So just experiment with the quantities. Try less. If you don't love something, try less before you try more and see what you think. Okay, so that's Dahlia on the cheeks and Dahlia and Ash on my lips, Ash contour. Okay, so that's that for the basics. Now, if you did go beyond the basics and get one fifth item, it would have been an illuminator, and illuminator is one of my favorite things in life. So you would have either gotten, as far as physical things, so you would have either gotten a cream illuminator or a powder. The cream is going to be more subtle. So one thing, a lot of people tell me on their color match, they don't like the glam and glowy, they want a more subtle color. And then they get a cream illuminator and they're like, I can't even see it. I feel like it's too subtle. And I'll remind them, you said you wanted subtle. So this is the subtle cream illuminator, okay? Now, you can put more of this on than you think because it's sheer. So try it. And remember, it just goes along the high points of your face. So like along your cheekbone here, maybe your brow bone. And you could also put it on your lips if you want. You could put it on your eyes. You could put it on your Cupid's bow to kind of give a little glimmer there. But the cream illuminators are just going to give that dewy glimmer. So when you're looking straight on, you might not notice it so much. but you're gonna move your face around, it's going to hit the light, and it's just gonna give you that hydrated, dewy glow, and it's gonna be very pretty, yet very subtle. So if you told me you want subtle, that's what I'm gonna recommend, and I'm gonna tell you, I think it's beautiful. But if you do want a little bit more of a punchy highlight, then the powder illuminators will definitely give you that. And the difference is that instead of just a dewy glimmer, it gives you more of a shimmer. It's not a sparkle, but it's definitely a shimmer. And so that will give you a more defined highlight. That's glamazing. And you're gonna wanna make sure you blend it in because the powders will just kind of sit there until you blend it, okay? But that's a great option if you like more of a like wow glow, and you can build it up to be even more than that, but it's very pretty as well. And it could be less punchy if you just put a small amount, just like anything. It doesn't have to, it could be a little more subtle, but there is a difference between the cream and the powder for sure. Okay, and the other thing about the powders is that you can use it as an eyeshadow. So because it's more of a punchy shimmer, if you put it on, it's more concentrated. This is like the, you know, Ice Queen look or something. I wouldn't normally wear it just by itself. I feel like a bit of a go-go dancer or something right now. But anyways, just to give you an idea, if you wear it really concentrated, it can give you a really obvious glimmer. So I wouldn't put that much on, but now I feel like I have to do the same on the other side, otherwise it's gonna be scary. Okay, so if you did get eyeshadows and you're looking for an eyeshadow tutorial, I have several in my group, and I'm not gonna go into that tonight because this is just supposed to be a basic tutorial for how to use your makeup. And I feel like eyeshadow is one of those more generic things, even though we have gorgeous eyeshadows. They're very good quality, they're beautiful, but they're still eyeshadows. So if you're used to high-end eyeshadows, Urban Decay or MAC or any of those, then you're gonna find that our eyeshadows are amazing. You're gonna love them, but I don't think you're gonna have trouble understanding how to use them or anything like that. So that's why I'm not gonna get into that. If you're wondering though about like where to place your eyeshadow colors because you're not an eyeshadow girl and you want help with that, then touch base with me and I would be happy to help you. Eyeshadow is very fun, so it's something that we can have some fun with. I can tell you where I think you should put things. If you are wanting to get some eyeshadows and add them to your palette and you're wondering what colors would be good for your eyes, your eye color, then chat with me because I love that. I love color theory. I love playing with all those things, so I'm really happy to help you with that. I am gonna just add some darker color along my lash line because I'm scared of the effect I just gave myself with all that glamazing. I love glamazing, but that was a little too much glamazing. I think I made my point that it can be way more punchy if you put a lot on. Okay, so I'm just adding a little bit of, what did I put on there? Trust along the lash line, and maybe I'll just deepen up around this outer V here. So with your eyes though, I will mention, it's basically just contouring for your eyes, right? So anything that you darken is going to recede more, and then anything you lighten and brighten is gonna come forward. So you'll notice that when I first applied that glamazing really strongly there, it made my eyelids so prominent that they basically took over my eye, and you don't want that. You do want, like, the light and the shimmer around your eyes is a great thing. It's a great tool that can really flatter your eyes and bring light to that area and emphasize the area, but you don't want it to be all about your eyelids as much as you want it to be about your eyes. So if you're going to apply a beautiful pop of shimmer, then you're still gonna want to create some drama or a little bit of depth and contour around the lash line because you want to emphasize the light of your actual eyes. So when you contour around your lash line, making it dark and giving a bit of a frame around your eyes, then when your eyes are open, other people's eyes are going to be drawn to your eyes before your eyelid, if that makes sense. So I am going to just go, my eyes are a little bit red right now too because I have not had a lot of sleep. So hopefully this helps to make them look a little more awake. All right, that's probably good enough because I was not going to do an eye tutorial. But yes, I love Illuminator and you can use it on your eyes too, and it's fantastic. So I hope that this was helpful. The last thing I would do would be, other than mascara, I would set my makeup. So with cream makeup, you're going to find that if you don't set it, especially in this heat, it probably is not going to last you all day long like you would expect it to. It's not going to cake like other makeup will, but it will kind of melt and slide and stuff, which is a good thing about it, but also the reason that you would want to set it. And so you have two options for setting. You can use a powder or you can use a spray. My favorite is a spray. Our Stay Spray. Got a visitor. No, not right now. It's bedtime for you. My favorite is the Stay Spray. It has aloe vera, hydrochloric acid, green tea, so it's got a lot of really fabulous ingredients that are really good for your skin, and you're going to notice a difference with this. It's a fabulous product. It's a bit pricier though, and so if you're just getting started and you don't want to blow your budget on this and you do want a spray, then there's other off brands you can use that, not off brands, but other brands that you can use that are still going to set your makeup just fine. They're just not going to be intended as like a skincare product like Stay Spray is. So one of them, Emmy, that's enough now, please. One of them is the NYX Dewy Setting Spray. Hey, that's enough now, please. Thank you. One of them is the Dewy Setting Spray from NYX. They also have a matte version, so that's a great one. If you're just getting started and you just need something, this is like under 10 bucks on Amazon or Shoppers or Walmart. If you're in the States, Walgreens would work too. The other option would be a powder. And so we have Vanilla Dust, which fits right into your palette. It's very convenient and it's a great powder. I'm not a fan of powders generally, but I do find that Vanilla Dust is great because it's not cakey and it's nice and smooth, so it's not a loose powder. It's just one that you use sparingly where you need it. So for me in the summertime, I get really oily through my T-zone, and I love dewiness, but I don't want that oily look. So I like to sometimes powder my T-zone with Vanilla Dust. You could powder under your eyes if you want to. I prefer to usually leave my eyes and just, if things start creasing a little bit, I'll just kind of pat in with my pinkies, and it will just melt right back in. I find if you set it with a powder, when you're just looking straight on in the mirror, it might be great and crease free, but because you do smile and you move, then there's gonna be an extra layer there, and so you are gonna see it creasing and stuff like that. So I just usually prefer not to have powders under my eyes, personally. That's my opinion. So yeah, but you do want to set, I like to set with spray, and I'll use my Saint Perfector sponge. I just get this wet first and squeeze out all the excess water before I get started, and then I let it sit so that when I go to use it at the end, it's damp but not wet. So I squeeze out every drop before I use it, because you do not want it to be wet, otherwise it's going to pick up all your makeup and take it off. But the benefit of having it wet instead of dry and getting all that out is that it becomes very, very soft. And you'll just find it like bounces right off your skin, and it will just kind of stipple everything in and smooth it while also setting your makeup. So I spray the Stay Spray on this, and then I'll just stipple it in, and it feels great. It's like therapy. And it just sets everything right into place and looks fabulous. Speaking of looking fabulous, I actually can't tell if this is all blended because I'm looking at my phone, so that's always embarrassing when I get off these and I'm like, I find that there's something that I forgot to blend, but I think this all looks good. The last thing I was going to say was the any areas of concern that you needed extra coverage for. So I mentioned at the beginning, Mango or Frenchie are great under the eyes to minimize that darkness under your eyes. But for me, one of the other color correctors I really like is Sunlit, and I mentioned that one. And for Sunlit, I don't put that under my makeup, I put it on top. So if you're somebody that I recommended Sunlit to, then you would be someone that would be like me, maybe a little bit fairer. Sunlit's really great for a lot of different skin tones, especially if you're warmer. But if I recommended it specifically for under eyes, because you have purpley under eyes, then I would say probably you're gonna wanna just apply it after instead. So you can just skip the part that I told you at the beginning about putting that underlayer of darker color on, and just center this only along the dark part of your bag line where it's really purpley if it's showing through your makeup. And I just tap that in there, and for me this is the magical one that I really like. So if I gave you a color corrector and you don't feel like it's making that much of a difference, remember that we do have that shade swap policy. So say you got Frenchie and you don't like it under your eyes, or you got Mango and you don't like it under your eyes, and you wanted to try something like this, like Sunlit, just trade it. You can send it back and you can swap it for Sunlit. If the 60 days has passed and you no longer can trade anymore, then just keep in mind that if you have, especially if you have Frenchie, that one is also a lip and cheek color, so you can still put it on your lips and cheeks, so it doesn't have to go to waste. But Sunlit is a really great one that you could try, that I really like as both a brightener and a color corrector. I just like what it does for under the eyes there, and I like that I can just apply it after rather than before, so it's just even less product and it's only where I need it, and that's it. Okay, so that's it. I hope that that was helpful for anybody watching. Let me know, please, if you have any questions or concerns, or you want to know more specifically where to put something or anything like that. If you feel like your colors aren't working for you, please do connect with me, because that's one of the biggest things. If you go through all these steps and you feel like your makeup's not sitting right, it's showing texture, it's not melting in, it looks like it's just sitting on your skin or anything like that, those are common signs that you got the wrong colors. So that can happen sometimes if the selfie that you send in to me, sometimes there are filters on your phone that you don't know about, where they smooth things and they brighten them or make them warmer than they really are. And so in that case, that's happened a few times where I matched someone and they didn't realize they had a filter on their phone, and so their skin is actually a lot cooler than they looked in the picture, or something like that. And so you'll know if the colors, your main shade doesn't just melt right in, and instead it's just sitting on top, you have the wrong colors. And I'm sorry if I was part of that problem. I do my very best. I'm usually pretty anal about it. Like, I tell you to be really picky about, stay 3 feet back from the window, natural light, no lights on around you, no filters on your phone, no makeup on, and all of that. But if even after all that, the color match isn't great, then talk to me for sure, because we are gonna wanna swap your colors and get you the perfect shades that are gonna work well. If you don't love it, then we need to change something, because this should be makeup that you absolutely love. You should feel amazing when you look in the mirror wearing it, and that is my job, to help you feel amazing. So please do connect with me if that's the case, and let's make sure that we set you up with the right colors so that you can be in love with your reflection. Okay? All right, have a great night, guys. Thank you for joining me. And if you're watching this later, just comment with #replay so that I know that you got a chance to watch it.